Hi, I was going to say welcome to another video, but this one, it means more than just simply passing the time. This subject is very, very close to my heart in a lot of ways. So I'll say welcome to the very first episode of Sensational Stories. I'll start by giving you a little bit about what the video is about. A group of parents have kindly signed up to answer a series of questions and taken time out of their busy schedules to answer them in various different ways. Some have answered by video, some have answered by texting back for me to read out their answers. This was all made for them to feel comfortable in whichever way they wanted to give their answers. The question themselves delve into just some of the differences we have in regards to traditional parenting when we have one or more SEND children. In this video, this focuses on parents with one or more autistic children, while future episodes will focus on a mixture depending on who wishes to take part. So with all that being said, we'll start with the very first question.
So the first question is, what is the simplest task that people take for granted that's difficult for you and your children? Right, where do I start? Simple trip to the shops. Takes a lot of planning, takes a lot of risk assessment, takes a lot of equipment going with us, i.e. a disability buggy for my 7-year-old because she is unsafe to walk on her own. If I can't take the disability buggy, I have to take a wrist strap because, again, she will run off. We used to live opposite a shop, and even that task used to take preparation, and it was literally across the road. We would have to get ready, we would have to put this on, put that on, make sure the shoes are right and things. It's just hell. It can be absolute hell. Not saying I don't love my children, because I do, but it can be hell. So yeah, so going to the shops. Day trips, we rarely do day trips because you try and take 3 autistic children to a park full of people, which I know we can't do at the moment because everywhere's closed, but you try and take 3 autistic children to a park where there are hundreds of children running around screaming, shouting, sensory goes into overdrive, they cannot cope with it. That's it. It's as simple as that. We can rarely do days out anywhere because it's just too much. I could go on forever about this, but that's my main two that I'm going to say for now.
So that was Mama Bear. What I will do is I will put in Twitter handles who have given permission afterwards. The next one is someone who's wanted to remain anonymous but kindly wanted to take part. Again, what's the simplest task that people take for granted that's difficult for you and your children? They go on to answer, in the past we have had really bad toileting problems with one child soiling in the night up until his age was in double figures. Parties and friends, both kids were frequently overlooked and not invited to parties. And when they invited others, only family would turn up. It was heartbreaking. Schools not understanding, particularly when the child who was incredibly academic. His anxiety would build up all day at school and then explode as soon as he reached the car to get home. So the school saw nothing. Changes of routine. If we forgot to let them know we are stopping to get petrol or to go to the shops on the way home, all hell would break loose. This one for me, obviously I'm a parent of an autistic child as well. It does, it's very, very familiar, especially the changes in routine for myself when I used to pick up my son from his very first school. There used to be a roundabout as we used to come into our estate. The thing is that if we turned left on that roundabout to go straight on, he would lose it. For no good reason, he would just lose it. He needed to turn right no matter what, and he would look in his little car seat. He would look up to see when we were coming up to it, and yeah, it would be tears, it would be rage, and I think it was maybe 3 or 4. It's kind of got easier as time's gone on. It's become a little less important, less of his focus, but that really does bring back memories. The next person to answer the first question is someone called Joe Briggs Tweets. For me, holding a conversation either in person or on the phone with Anna around, assuming pre-COVID-19, pop into the shops without undertaking damage limitations, reviews akin to MI5 security standards, a full night's sleep, having her tell me how her day was, have her tell me anything really, a normal family life, making plans, life getting easier as the children get older, a two-way conversation with her, difficult for Anna, as above, but also things like understanding danger. She has no concept of it whatsoever. Experiencing a friendship, so many things, I'd be here all day. Okay, so next person to answer is someone called Stacey C. She's answered by saying the following: being able to shop, play, do homework, get him dressed, bathed or showered, getting to school, making dinners as son's fussy, splitting time between both kids, cleaning, appointments. OMG, the loss could go on about the things that should be easy that aren't. Even a trip or walk to the shops is hard, especially if we don't walk the way he wants, or taxi doesn't go home the way he wants. Getting on trains is hard because of noise and gap between platform and train. This one, again, I think is familiar because of routine. Routine is extremely important, and in the child's mind it has to be familiar, and that goes for routes home, whether it be walking or in a car. In their minds it is the most important thing, regardless of circumstances. So the next person to answer the first question is Blogging Mama. The most difficult things that others take for granted are pretty much everything. Taking a phone call ever, someone knocking on the door unexpectedly, shopping anywhere ever, all meal times, both the mess because of dexterity issues and the sensory issues of smells, tastes, etc. Eating out anywhere ever, family occasions, birthdays, Easters, Christmas, etc. Those are the top most difficult things. So the next person to answer the first question is someone called Bethtastic. What's the simplest task that people take for granted that's difficult for you and your kids? Sleep. When your child doesn't sleep, you can't sleep. Can't underestimate the value of a good night's sleep. It has such a knock-on effect on everything. I guess this is the most relatable. And she's right. The fact is when you're deprived of sleep, emotions get high, your patience runs low. Sleep, it kind of solves everything. You feel re-energized, you feel more patient, and the day goes easier when you've had a good night's sleep. And I think that's not just for ourselves as parents. I think it's important for the kids as well, because if you've got a child that doesn't sleep particularly well, obviously those effects of being impatient and being short and sometimes having a short fuse end up in their sort of minds as well. So that's a really, really good answer, and something I think we can all relate to. So the next person to answer the first question, what's the simplest task that people take for granted that's difficult for you and your kids, is autism care and share. When my son was 4, cutting his hair took the whole day, then a few days after to tidy it up. He would cry and bite, throw the scissors on the floor once he went to school with half a haircut. Cutting his hair was horrific. 20 years on, he now accepts the hairdressers, but no more than 10 minutes. No TV on in the hairdressers. One time the hairdresser refused to turn the TV off. It's still challenging, but now pales in comparison how it used to be. For me, this is something my boy went through. It took years for him to get used to hairdressers, and in fact, he didn't really accept having his hair cut until he saw his brother a few times going in, sitting down, even talking to the hairdressers. And I think it was a social thing as well, that He felt that he would have to interact with the hairdresser. Once his language started to come on a little bit more, I think he felt a little bit more at ease, that he could talk to them and he can tell them a little bit about himself or what he was into, and he started to calm down a little bit. I don't think it was a case of that he thought it'd be painful. I think it was a case of maybe his anxiety, but eventually he got there in the end, and he actually enjoys going to the hairdressers. So going back to the first question, what's the simplest task that people take for granted that's difficult for you and your kids? To summarise, they're very, very similar. While there's almost a centre point, and all of these answers sort of dance around it. Very, very similar, as in routine being extremely important to the child. For instance, I'm going to be doing dinner, and unless my boy's food gets put on a blue plate or a Cars 3 plate, he won't eat it, and regardless if he's hungry or not. So while they are different answers, I think they all fall under that routine umbrella. Like I said, going to the shops or even travelling, unless they're done in a certain way that's comfortable for the children, it becomes a very, very difficult task. So we move on to the next question. So question 2, how have your family supported you? This one again is from Stacey C. My family have supported me in the beginning, but not so much now. They will come over and spend time with my son, but won't take us out as a family unit, but they still support in their own way. So next up for question 2 is by Anonymous once more. How have your family supported you? Mostly by just being there and including us, but even that's tough. Not everything is about autism. Well, sorry, Karen, it is when you live with it every day. It's hard for them to understand sometimes, but at least most of them try. As head of a branch of NAS for 9 years, I heard some real horror stories about how families treat each other. So next one for question 2 is Autism Care and Share. How have your family supported you? I'm one of 10, but you wouldn't know it. My mum's still alive, but you wouldn't know it. During coronavirus, everyone treats you as though you have a virus. Stay in a distance so not to catch it. It's always been like that for us. When my son was 21, I failed him. He only had 3 cards, one was from our dog. So I joined Twitter in an appeal for cards over 100 the first year, nearly 400 last year. Family do stay away. You just got to make your own family from those that understand. That's a wonderful answer, and it really does speak volumes about, I'd call it family on Twitter. I've been on it for, I think, 19 days from when this video's uploaded, and there's something different about our community. They're always looking to comfort each other and to go the extra mile, because they know what you're going through, and that's beautiful, that answer. So next to answer question 2 is Bethtastic. How have your family supported you? We don't have family support as such, as we moved 500 miles away when our eldest was a baby, when my husband was offered a new job. We do, however, have friends that have become family over the years. Generally friends with their own disabled children, and the support we give each other is often the biggest lifeline we have, because who else understands our battles, struggles, needs, as someone who goes through the same things as ourselves? Again, these answers are very similar, and I don't know why I'm surprised. I don't think it would have been so similar to what me and my family my wife and 2 children have gone through. It's difficult. It's difficult because, like this answer and the answer before, it's not as if you're pleading or begging for support. It's also difficult to judge these people. I mean, a question that I often ask myself is, what would I have been like if my child didn't have autism? Would I have offered support to another family member who had an autistic child when I knew nothing about it? I mean, I became clued up on autism because my boy was diagnosed with it. But if I hadn't had an autistic child, would I have gone out of my way to research in the subject? I honestly don't know. I don't know. So next for question 2 is back to Joe Briggs' tweets. How have your family supported you? Depends who you ask. We live locally to my side of the family. Michael's lived further away. At first they all seemed to think she would get better with age as she learned new skills. To an extent we probably did too, as it was also alien, not something I had ever encountered. Further down the line, the family that are local understand in the main that is not the case, either because they see her more often or see me more often to get the picture. When Anna was younger, my dad was great. I lost my mum 28 years ago, as he would sit with her, which allowed me to work a little or to go to the supermarket, stuff like that. He would babysit so we could go out in the evening occasionally. As she's got bigger, she has got unbelievably strong, and it wouldn't be fair to ask him to look after her with any regularity now. She can overpower me at 11, and Dad's in his 70s now, so it wouldn't be right. He understands, although I know he feels a bit helpless, that he can't do anything to really make things better. We talk every day, and in non-lockdown times, see him at least weekly. His first question is always, how are the girls? The fact that I'm only talking about my own family probably speaks volumes. And of course, anybody with a partner could probably relate to this. Very lucky if you've got both sides of the family that are supportive. For me, my side of the family, and again they are local, very, very supportive. They will literally do anything for us. Any runs to the supermarket, even in the current climate of the situation we're in at the moment. My family will break their back to help us out. On my wife's side, again, they aren't local, but it's apples and oranges. It's difficult. Next up for question 2, we have back to blogging mama. How have your family supported you? In answer to your question about family support, there isn't any really. Sometimes a sympathetic ear, but then still always an expectation for the children to conform and act neurotypically.
The next question is, how have your family supported you? I don't see my family. I haven't seen my family for, what's my youngest now? She's 7 and she was a year old when they last saw her, so 6 years ago was the last time I saw them. As soon as they heard the word autism, they ran. I actually have 4 sisters. 2 I haven't spoken to for a very long time and 2 I just don't talk to. I have a dad. He's elderly. He's just got through pancreatic cancer, so I'm not bothering him with anything. My mum passed away 14 years ago. I'll tell you what, she was absolutely brilliant. She was a Senko. She was the dog's danglies, shall we say. So no, I have no family support whatsoever. It is just me and the children. I do have 2 older children who are not autistic, and I must say they are absolutely fantastic in helping me. They will text me, "Mum, you okay?" When My daughter quite often rings me. She'll say, do you need anything? It's a bit more difficult now in this situation that we're in, but she will help out where she can, which I love. You know, she shows her true side, which is that she's an absolutely fantastic girl.
So that one was Mama Bear asking question 2, and I'm kind of kicking myself because she, at the end there, raised a really, really good point, and that's siblings of autistic children. They are, they're little stars. They are support, and they were never asked to do it. It wasn't their job. It was the fact that they stepped up. And my eldest is 7, who is autistic. My youngest is 5, and almost from the time he could walk, he was supporting his older brother. And I don't know if you've seen the movie Trolls, but I've got a video which I can't show you because my eldest, for a long period, didn't like to wear trousers. So, but they're dancing around, holding each other's hands and singing True Colours, and that was from when he could walk. So she raises a really, really good point, and that's just how important siblings are. So that's the end of part 1. Part 2 will be coming in a couple of days with 2 more questions. I wanted to say thank you to all of you, because this has been one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done. And just hearing your stories, your struggles, and how familiar some of them are, it's been amazing. It's been really, really emotional, and a few times while I haven't put it on video, I've had to take a step away, even go and spend some time with my son just to get some perspective. So really, I'm truly thankful for everything, everything you've done. Thank you.